Well, hello and welcome here to the Saint Anselm Coaches Show live at Davison Hall every Tuesday from noon to 1. Going to cover a lot of ground over the next 60 minutes here on ESPN New Hampshire and ESPNNewHampshire.com. Of course, you can hear it on the air from 5:30 to 6:30 every Tuesday night. Head football coach Pat Murphy will join me as he always does in just a moment. We'll also speak with head athletic trainer Mike Sirois. Andrea Cofrin joins us in the second half hour, the women's lacrosse coach, and Julie Plant. My first conversation with her since taking over the women's basketball program. New head coach joins me in the second half hour. Well, let's bring in Coach Pat Murphy. St. A's, another tough opponent and another tough loss on Friday night against Southern Connecticut. Group will look to get it going again this weekend on the road. But, Coach, let's revisit that game. You were telling me a moment ago off the air, not only is Southern a big physical team, but really the first month of the season has been one giant in Division II after the other. Certainly a tough schedule to open up with.
You know, very well-coached team at Southern Connecticut, loaded with large, big physical athletes. Very similar to New Haven, very similar to Bowie State, and Stonehill right now is rolling as well, and they're having an exceptional year.
The line, I thought, the defensive line rather, played better for sure, noticeably better, I thought, on Friday night. You had a couple of guys, Lulu Chardy, Cam Foster, winning individual battles up front. Were you proud of the way they played Friday?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're coming around. Cam's coming back from a catastrophic knee injury that kept him out all last season. And he's just starting to round into shape. Lou's having an excellent year all the way around. And I think our tackles are getting better as we go. I think Justin Walter played well and did a great job.
What else you take from the defensive side? I know you allowed 42 points, but there were some highlights for sure.
We tackled better. We're getting better each week. I mean, that's the thing right now. When we look at film, we're improving. We've played 4 very good, very strong physical teams, and all of which are doing quite well right now with their seasons. We've opened up, like you said, with a very tough schedule, and we're getting better though.
42-20 was the final on the offensive side. Justin Bernard had another workhorse-like day, 10 catches, 88 yards. Did not find the end zone, but I thought he was the go-to guy, as he usually is, but it just amazes me how he's willing to sacrifice the body for that extra yard. That's obviously what you want to see from your players, but he embodies that mentality.
Yeah, Justin's a big physical receiver. We've said that before. That's one of the reasons why, the next level, the NFL has come in to take a look at him. And he continues to go out there and get it and make plays, and, that's what we expect from him.
Keith Charles, another familiar name at this point, of course, the senior co-captain, the running back. Almost another 200 all-purpose yard game, just finished shy. Caught 4 catches for 74 yards, 11 carries, 29 yards, and 4 kick returns for 88 yards. Seems like his role increasing a little bit, Coach, or no?
No, I think he's been doing it every
You're
game
asking
this
him
year.
to do enough already.
Yeah, I mean, he's having a great year. Right now, if we had to pick an MVP, it'd probably be him. I mean, he's doing it all. He's, like you said, he's running it, he's catching it, and he's helping us out in a multitude of ways in the return game, and he's playing at an exceptional level at each one of those.
Seems like he's a smart runner as well.
Yeah, I mean, Keith's smart all the way around. He's a great student athlete. He's the embodiment of what we're looking for here at Saint Anselm College, as far as in the classroom, in the community, and on the football field, and he's a well-rounded individual, and you can see that on the football field as well.
Pat Murphy, head football coach, joining us here on the Saint Anselm Coaches Show, live at Davison Hall on campus, talking about the latest game for the Hawks football team, a defeat against Southern Connecticut State, one of the better teams, not only in the conference, but traditionally year in and year out in Division II. Talking a little bit about some of the problems that continue to arise, Coach, and that's giving up the big play. Yeah. What's the story there?
I think part of that is again, youth. We've been without our 2 starting safeties that we started the season with since Bowie. And we're growing back there, but we're still not where we need to be. I think we tackled dramatically better than we did the week prior against New Haven. So we're getting better. It's just a matter of reps and getting those guys in situations where they've been before, and then letting them just play rather than think about it then playing. And I think we'll come around, and we're also going to get guys like Trevor Jesse back on the field here relatively quickly. Mike Sirois I know is coming up later, and I'm sure he's going to have him ready for us sooner rather than later.
Yeah, Trevor Jesse I think was missed in particularly at the safety spot against some of those bigger plays, both through the air and on the ground. One guy who certainly has left it out on the field is sophomore Carroll Bailey. He's a starter at cornerback. He's from Clinton, Mass. 10 tackles, 3 for a loss, protecting the edge well, forced a fumble. I rave about him every week. I know that the coaching staff has been fond as well.
Yeah, I mean, Carroll's right now having an all-league type of season. He's a force to be reckoned with. And the great thing about Carroll, similar to Keith on offense.
Did you think he would be this good when you recruited him? Not to cut you off.
I thought he was going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was going to be this good this early. And, he's a force in all phases of the game. He's doing a great job in run support. He's doing an excellent job in coverage. And the great thing about him is he's physical enough where we can bring him off the edge in a pressure type situation, and he's making plays. And that's one of the things we talk about all the time is, it's the player makes the plays. The plays don't make the player, and Carroll is right now making plays.
Seems like, Coach, for most of the game you ran what looked like a 4-4 defensively. Was that a game plan tailored specifically to that rush attack?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, try to get 8 guys, 9 guys in the box, and they want to run the ball. They want to pound it at you with their 300 guys, 300-pound guys across the board. And they got a 280-pound tight end. They got a 260-pound fullback, and they got a fast tailback right behind those guys. That, so we're going to try to get 8 guys around the box. And
yeah, they had a few fast tailbacks.
Sure, no question. That's their MO.
Yeah, they're going to be a good team, no question about it. Let's look ahead this week. First of all, tell me about the health of the ball club. About a month into the season now, everybody's got injuries.
Yeah, everyone's got bumps.
You guys are getting healthier. We talked about Trevor Jesse.
We're getting healthier. We didn't have any catastrophic injuries this past week. Our training staff's doing a great job getting them back on the field, and I think we're getting healthier as the season progresses. Honestly, the Bowie State game's the one that kind of beat us up quite a bit, and I think we're getting back to full strength, if not this week, then next week, and we're looking forward to Bentley.
Yeah, that's always a fun game. Bentley and Saint A is a tradition that goes back across really all sports for quite a long time. You mentioned how that's a program that year in and year out you know what you're going to get, but what specifically can you try to take away? Like last week when you made the adjustment to the 4-4, any game plan wrinkles we may see?
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be a little bit here and there. I don't see as dramatic a change this week as you saw last week with Southern, in that Bentley's a multiple offense. They'll throw it around quite a bit, in which case our base package probably suits us a little bit better. And then they'll get into a little 2-back stuff, but it's different than Southern. Southern's going to, they're going to run power, they're going to run ISO, they're going to try to do both right down their throat, and they're going to basically tell you where it's going. Bentley is a little bit more finesse in their run game, whereas we can stay in our base stuff, and as long as we tackle, we can compete.
You mentioned the improvement with the tackling. Is that something that just requires, I guess, time to get better, more reps in practice, or is that something you can do as a quick fix? Because it looked noticeably better.
Yeah, no, I
last week.
think it was a combination of several different factors against New Haven that led to that. And number one is guys looking for that ESPN hit rather than just coming up to make the tackle. There's a difference between hitting and there's a difference between tackling. And you can be a great hitter, but a poor tackler.
And I think you see that even on the NFL level.
Absolutely. Too. Absolutely. And it's becoming a lost art, and it's something that we work daily as part of our practice schedule. With our defense, is they're in some form of tackling circuit pretty much every day. And, it's something that we worked on, but we obviously came out of New Haven and really emphasized that, and grabbing cloth and running our feet and doing all those things that, that are the basic fundamentals.
So it's kind of back to basics this week in a lot of ways in practice.
Absolutely.
Finally, Coach, quarterback Andrew Murphy, 3 interceptions. Seemed like, first of all, he's on the move a lot under pressure. That was certainly a pretty good pass rush, I think, that Southern Connecticut put on. But sometimes the decision-making was a little questionable. Did he take a step back maybe in that area?
No, I don't think he's going to take a step back. I think he's trying to do too much, to be honest with you. I think the pressure definitely was a factor. Didn't have a lot of time in there, and I think he was trying to force things. I think our number one problem right now offensively is we're all trying to do too much. We're trying to get the big play every play instead of just making the simple play.
And is that nerves related?
No, I think it's just them realizing that a year ago, what we did, and we have everyone back, and I think it's more them trying to force the issue instead of letting it just come naturally. And they all want to be great, a great offensive unit. They all realize that we have the ingredients to do that. And I think they're just trying to force it. And we had a great talk about that on Sunday, and I'm looking forward to practice today and just letting it come.
You mentioned that he's one of the more, I guess, mature, not leaders, that sounds too cliche, but he's a guy certainly accountable for his actions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Based on what we talked about. So what was his reaction, not only after the game on Friday, but as you mentioned during the meeting on Sunday?
Yeah, no, it's, he takes ownership. He's not one of the ones that's going to, point the finger somewhere else. He's going to take ownership of it, and I got to see that better, and I got to go through my progression better, and it's fun coaching. He accepts coaching. That's the great thing about our team right now as a whole, which has been different overall from previous years. They understand. It's fun coaching these guys. We're 0-4. No one likes losing. But we're getting better each day because of the attitude of our student athletes and their willingness to accept coaching, and they want to be good. And they realize that we're a good football team right now, and we've played some very good football teams.
Yeah.
So we're still relatively young. We started 1 senior on offense, Keith Charles, this past week. We started 2 seniors on defense, and the great thing about it is these young guys are going to be around for a couple of years, and as long as they accept the coaching and continue to work at it, we're gonna be right there.
Head football coach Pat Murphy joining us here on the Saint Anselm Coaches Show. Just a couple more minutes, and then Coach will, I assume, head to practice. What's the schedule today?
I'll be back in meetings with the coaches. We have practice tonight at 5:30, and we'll be out there then.
What's it been like playing under the lights? I know it was kind of a first-year thing last year, and you're accustomed to it at this point, but does it actually add a little bit?
I don't know. I'm still a traditionalist in that I think college football should be a Saturday afternoon game, and wake up, grab some breakfast, and go play some ball.
Yeah.
It's a different change. It's unique, but I don't think it brings anything different to the game.
Good turnout, though. We
were
pleased with that, fan-wise.
That's what they tell me. That's what Tyler's telling me, and so I'll take his word for it and kind of go from there.
All right, finally, Coach, give me some keys against Bentley on Saturday.
We got to do a good job of getting after Guagnoli, their quarterback, in the pocket. We got to limit their outstanding receiver, Hill, on the outside. They have an excellent all-purpose player in Jet Kali, number 1, who's a transfer from Lafayette to Bentley. Extremely quick, agile kid, fast kid that they'll line up at running back. They'll line him up at receiver. He's a kick returner for them. We've got to do a good job tackling him. I think offensively, that's what we got to, from a defensive standpoint, that's what we got to do against their offense. Defensively, there are multiple, 4-down front. They're going to be in an 8-man front most of the time. They'll play a little cover 2, and they'll play a decent amount of man along with their base cover 3 deal. But for us offensively, we just got to take the easy play. We can't go looking for the big play. When that happens, it usually winds up biting you in the butt. And that's what's happened to us last week. We were looking for the big play, and it kind of backfired on us. And we just got to make the simple plays, and everything will work out.
Well, certainly best of luck. I think this is probably the game to win based on the first 5 anyway. Bentley certainly formidable, and you want to take everybody seriously, obviously, but boy, you can't get much tougher of a month in terms of schedule than what you guys just ran through.
Hey, that's the NE10, and it's a greatly improved league. It's everyone everyone is working towards a NE10 championship as far as the schools go, and they're doing a great job with that. The coaches are doing a great job, and they're spending a lot of money to elevate the NE10 football.
Coach, best of luck against
Thank
Bentley.
you.
Thanks for joining us. That's head coach Patrick Murphy right here on the Saint Anselm Coaches Show. I'm Nick Anastos. This is ESPN New Hampshire and ESPNNewHampshire.com, live from Davison Hall every Tuesday from noon to 1, and then heard on both 900 and 1250 a.m. Tuesday nights from 5:30 to 6:30. Keeping it moving, and a little different element here to the show as we welcome in head athletic trainer Mike Sirois. Mike?
Hey, Nick, thanks.
Nice
to
to
see you.
finally chat here. First of all, tell me about your duties. You're head trainer for a group that includes a total of 4 athletic trainers, and you guys got to be basically everywhere at once.
Yeah, correct. A staff of 4 of us covering 20 varsity sports and almost 500 student athletes. My staff, we're pretty busy from about middle of August till middle of May. This season, we all have our own sports we cover, which has made it, I think, a little bit better with continuity of care between the training staff, the student athletes, and the coaching staff. So I think it's worked well so far this fall. But yeah, we're busy, but we all love what we do. That's why we're in this profession, to help the student athletes, be on the field for practicing games as often as possible, because that career for most of these kids is pretty short. So we want to make sure they're out there in a healthy manner, out there as much as possible.
Mike Sirois, head athletic trainer, joining us here on the Saint Anselm Coaches Show. You've been here for 10 years. It's your first as the head athletic trainer. How's that been going?
It's been going great.
A little busier, maybe?
I'd say a lot busier.
Yeah.
It's been something that I've been looking forward to progressing in this career, and was fortunate enough to be given the opportunity this year. Over the past 3-4 years, the previous head athletic trainer, Neil Duval, had sort of groomed me into this position and done a pretty good job for letting me know what to expect. Obviously, there's things that he couldn't or I could never expect.
Right.
But it's been a good transition. I think the staff is coming together and doing a good job with our new hire and Danny Gay. Done a good job sort of stepping in and taking the bull by the horn, so to speak. It's been good. It's been a lot of work. A lot more stuff falls on my desk, but I welcome that opportunity and that challenge.
Tell me a little bit more about some of the day in and day out activities that trainers have to go through, not just here at St. Anselm, but nationwide. I mean, what are some of the services you provide?
Sure. There's a lot of things that athletic trainers do throughout the course of a day. We're here in the morning doing rehab, doing treatments with our teams. We're here hours before practice, hours before the games, and hours after those events as well. But not only are we taking care of them from an orthopedic standpoint, I think a big part of what we do too is a psychological standpoint. When student athletes get hurt or get injured, it's hard on them.
Right.
For them to sit on the sidelines, see their teammates practicing, playing without them, it's a hard thing to sort of swallow.
Right.
And I think a big part of what we do is sort of encouraging them to continue to work hard in the training room with rehab, with treatment, to get back out there. So I think that's, again, a big portion of what we do on the psychological aspect of injury.
Mike Sirois joining us here on the St. Anselm Coaches Show. Mike, in his first season as head athletic trainer for the Hawks, how are some of the more serious injuries handled? And when you have to bring in the team doctors, how does that go down? What's your relationship with them?
Yeah, we have a great relationship with our team physician. We work closely with the New Hampshire Orthopedic Center, particularly Dr. James Vallis, as well as Scott Evans, his physician assistant. They've been with us for over 15 years. Great relationship with both of those guys. Can call them on their cell phone, can talk to them morning, noon, and night. We have a doctor's clinic that happens on campus once a week that they see student athletes here in the training room, which helps our kids. They don't have to make a trip over into Manchester. When those bigger injuries do happen, we have a good group of physicians, neurology, all kinds of different specialties of medicine that we use. And Dr. Bayless has sort of helped us with that relationship with the people in Manchester. Concussions are the big sort of hot topic right now. Those take a lot of people to sort of make sure that the kid is healthy and getting back, including athletic training staff, team doctor, team neurologist, and a neuropsychologist as well. So some of those bigger injuries, like you said, are handled by a lot of different people. But we have a good group of medical professionals at our disposal here at the college.
And having a hand in an athlete's recovery, it's got to be rewarding, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's the best part of the job. To be with that kid, to know that kid from start to finish, so to speak. I think athletic trainers get to know student athletes better than a lot of people in the athletic department. We see these kids on a daily basis in many different situations. I have student athletes that come in and just stop in to say hello on a daily basis, whether or not they need treatment or anything. And I think that that's a special part of being an athletic trainer at the college setting.
Busy day on Saturday, 4 events. It's days like those that probably put a little gray hair on your head, huh? I mean, how does that work? There are 4 going on at once.
Yeah, absolutely. Days like Saturday are crazy. They're busy, but it's also what we like to do. Not only do we have 4 events on campus, we also are away with football that day.
Right.
There's also a home softball play day, which is a non-traditional season for them. So basically, we all are sort of spread a little bit thin. Again, with just 4 of us covering all these events, there'll be some of us doubling up and covering multiple events that day. We are also fortunate to have a small per diem budget where I can hire some outside help for some of these events, which I sometimes do. So everything gets covered. But it makes for long days on those days. But again, it's what we're all sort of bought into when you become an athletic trainer.
Head athletic trainer Mike Sirois. A couple more minutes here with him on the Saint Anselm Coaches Show. On the other side, we're going to introduce 2 new head coaches, the women's lacrosse coach Andrea Cofrin and Julie Plant, new women's basketball coach. That's coming up on the other side. But a couple more minutes here with Mike. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
A little bit about myself. Well, like we talked about before, been here at the college for 10 years. Before here, grew up in Maine. Went to
what part of Maine?
Up near Bar Harbor,
okay.
A small town called Ellsworth.
Sure.
Grew up there. Went to school in Maine at the University of New England in Biddeford, Maine for 4 years. Went out west for 2 years at Utah for grad school. Was out there as the baseball grad assistant.
How was that?
Great experience.
Yeah.
Utah is a great school. Happy for them that they're now in the Pac-12. I still follow, obviously, their football program, their baseball program, quite religiously. But a great experience. Being from Maine, not really traveling too much outside of New England.
Did you play any sports
I played soccer in college.
Okay.
Yep, played soccer in college, but grew up playing all kinds of sports: baseball, basketball. Sports guy.
Looks like you could suit up right now.
I appreciate that. But yeah, sports guy, sports junkie. I work sports all day. I go home and I watch sports all night. Just love the competition, and because I can't play anymore, this is sort of the best way to sort of still be a part of it and still get those competitive juices still going.
Sure, appreciate it.
Nick,
enjoy yourself. Don't tire yourself out on Saturday as well.
Try not to. Thanks.
That's Mike Sirois, head athletic trainer. He's been on the job for 10 years. His first year, though, running the department, doing a great job keeping everybody healthy and getting those injured athletes back to speed as fast as possible. You're listening to the Saint Anselm Coaches Show right here on ESPN New Hampshire and ESPNNewHampshire.com. Saint Anselm College features 20 NCAA Division II programs, most of which compete in the highly competitive Northeast 10 Conference. With over 100 home events this season, there's certainly plenty of chances to catch the Hawks in action. If you can't make it to the game, log on to SaintAnselmHawks.com. Follow along with free live stats of every home contest, or better yet, be sure to check out SaintAnselmHawks.tv for the live video broadcast of every football, basketball, and hockey game, as well as other select events throughout the season. Coming up, we will introduce 2 new coaches. Andrea Cofrin coming over to take over the women's lacrosse program. We'll chat with her, and then later, Julie Plant, new women's basketball coach. That is next here on the Saint Anselm Coaches Show on ESPN New Hampshire at ESPNNewHampshire.com. Well, welcome back here to the Saint Anselm Coaches Show. Nick Anastos with you here on ESPN New Hampshire and ESPNNewHampshire.com. Special thanks to Pat Murphy, head football coach, for joining us in the first half hour, and head athletic trainer Mike Sirois. Coming up in just a moment, Andrea Cofrin, the new women's lacrosse coach, will join us later in the half hour. Julie Plant, the new women's basketball coach. So an introduction of sorts here on the show. You can catch it every Tuesday night from 5:30 to 6:30 on ESPN New Hampshire, which is 900 and 1250 AM on the radio, and live online at ESPNNewHampshire.com. So without any further ado, we welcome in Andrea Cofrin from Siena. Made her way over and took over the women's lacrosse program here on the Hilltop. You guys begin in the spring, but the work, as you were telling me, has already begun.
It has. We started about 3 weeks ago. We had our first play day a couple weeks ago, and the girls are doing a great job. I inherited a really great group of girls that work hard on and off the field, and have great relationships, too, on and off the field.
Anyone in particular kind of jump out at you as, you know what, that's a player that reminds me of myself, somebody that you can kind of lean on a little bit early on?
I think there's a couple of them. You know, we've got a really strong sophomore and junior class, so I don't think I could pinpoint one person. They all bring a different aspect to the field, and they're all leading, you know, in different ways too to help each other, especially the freshmen this year.
You played in college, Frostburg State.
Yep.
In Maryland. I assume you played in high school as well.
I did.
Women's lacrosse. You're from the Syracuse, New York area. Bigger out there? Growing sport? I mean, what's kind of the state amongst the youth with women's lacrosse?
You know, lacrosse did start. It was bigger in Syracuse and Maryland when I grew up, but right now it's all over the country. There's athletes, you know, from California, Texas, Florida, you name it. There's some great tournaments that go on for recruiting, so we can bring in quality student athletes to the program.
What about here in New Hampshire?
There's some great teams. We've got Granite State Club program. I know there's Tomahawks that is locally starting on the girls' side of things. So I can recruit locally and nationally, which is really exciting.
Absolutely. Joined by Andrea Cofrin, women's lacrosse head coach. First year on the job, and you guys are practicing already. What'd you say, about 3 times a week?
Yeah,
right?
We practice about 3 or 4 times a week. We've got the 24 practices in a 45-day window, so it really helps them and allows them to be student athletes and focus a little bit more on their academics, especially during the fall season.
Tell me a little bit more about your time so far here at St. Anselm. I'm sure you're enjoying it, right?
I love it. You know, when I came up here for my interview, I fell in love with the campus right away. We've got great administrators. We've got great professors on campus that really do support the student athletes to make sure they are successful in the classroom and in the future for their career.
And those things were what attracted you to the job?
Yeah, definitely. And on the fact that my husband is from Derry, New Hampshire. He grew up locally. So when this job came up, I thought that why not go for it, see what I could do.
What does he do?
He is a teacher at Wyndham High School,
Okay.
and he is also coaches lacrosse.
Okay,
Yep.
There you go. Up-and-coming program there, by the way.
Yes, it is.
With Wyndham Lacrosse, no doubt about it. Did he play for Pinkerton?
He did play for Pinkerton.
What sports?
He played football and lacrosse for Pinkerton,
Wow.
and then he went on to play at Springfield.
Wow, okay. So he knows Coach O'Reilly over there.
He does know
I'm sure
Coach
he knows
O'Reilly.
him
He's a great
very
guy.
well. That sure is. This is the St. Anselm Coaches Show, of course, speaking with Andrea Cofrin, year 1 on the job as the head women's lacrosse coach at St. Anselm. What's excited about, or what's got you excited, rather, about year number 1 here? Specifically.
Just the fact that I inherited a great program. You know, the girls do work hard. We've got a great core group of leaders. We just picked captains last week, and we have Bree Walsh, who's a senior. We've got Marissa Daly and Sarah Doherty that are both juniors. So they're here to lead the program, and then we've got some other great upperclassmen that are helping on and off the field.
How were the captains decided?
Captains were decided. We started in our first meeting. I had them all stand up if they wanted to be a captain and kind of let the team know, you know, why they would be good leaders. And then over the course of the last 2 to 3 weeks, I allowed them to go through practices to, you know, have their teammates see who were the best leaders.
Right.
Last week we ended up having individual meetings where I got to sit down with each player and see who they wanted as their captains and get a little evaluation from them.
And what about those 3 players stood out?
They're great role models on and off the field. They're true mentors, and they definitely lead by example on the field. And the girls can look up to them. They can always ask them questions, and they're always looking for the best out of each and every one of their teammates.
Talking women's lacrosse with the new head coach, Andrea Cofrin, here on the Saint Anselm Coaches Show. Looking ahead to the spring, what things need to happen? What are you excited about? Tell me a little bit more about the strengths and weaknesses of the club.
Our strength, I think, right now is our offensive end. We've got, 7 or 8 prolific scorers out there. Defensively, we do need a little work, but we knew that coming in. I knew that during my interview. So if we can make our defense more dominant than our offense, we're going to have a great spring season.
Good stuff. Best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Andrea Cofrin, let's talk again once the season begins for sure.
Sounds good.
Appreciate the time. That's Andrea Cofrin, the women's lacrosse, the new coach, joining us here, and got some time to get acclimated, of course, before the spring rolls around, and certainly St. A is a great place to get accustomed to. It really is. A beautiful campus. Everyone's friendly. Take the athletics seriously. Good stuff. Coming over from Siena as well, which is a pretty good lacrosse program in its own right. So everybody, I think, excited about that. Now, Saint Anselm College, of course, features 20 NCAA Division II programs, most of which compete in the highly competitive Northeast 10 Conference, 100 home events, plenty of chances to catch the Hawks in action. If you can't make it to the game, log on to SaintAnselmHawks.com or follow along with the free broadcast at SaintAnselmHawks.tv. Joined now by another new coach. Let's welcome her in. Her name is Julie Plant, and she comes over from Regis after turning around that school's program, hoping to do the same here with St. Anselm's on the Division II level. Welcome aboard the St. Anselm Coaches Show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, Julie, tell me a little bit about your background, and tell me about that turnaround that I've heard about down at Regis.
Yeah, it took a while taking over the program at Regis to kind of turn the corner. I was there for 8 years. It was my first head coaching job, my first head coaching opportunity at the college level. So it was my baby. So I took a really good care of my kids. I rebuilt the program by bringing in really competitive players, players who were willing to be coached and worked really hard, had great attitudes. And after a good 2 full recruiting classes, we were able to make a national record turnaround. We were 5-20, and the following year we were 18-8. So you do it with the players. So I think the opportunity to be at St. Anselm and have another first-time opportunity as a Division II head coach. I'm going to really work with the current players that we have here. We have a lot of talent, and we're just going to really work at developing our relationships and working hard together, having great attitudes and being competitive every day. That's something we're really trying to do right now.
Well, something jumped out at me during your answer, and we'll preview the team, of course, in just a few moments. But is that maybe the biggest attribute you look for in players that play for you, is the competitive nature?
Absolutely. If you can find kids who hate to lose, that are willing to be coached, you can turn things around really quickly. So you have to have a competitive spirit, and be willing to put it a little on the line and just really work extra hard. So that's a big thing that I look for on the recruiting trail.
Well, it's certainly a good starting point, but obviously you have to play the games, you have to coach the games as well. What were some of the things that you implicated from the sidelines during your 8 years at Regis?
I really just tried to hide our weaknesses as much as we could and play to our strengths. We did a lot of advanced scouting, so we would game plan day in and day out and really try to develop a really specific game plan to attack our opponent's weaknesses. So that's something I'm really going to try to do here. We have a lot of strengths on our team with our players now. We do have a few weaknesses. Every team does, but we're going to really look to try to attack every time we have the ball. Try to get to the rim, get to the free throw line, get easy opportunities. So we're really going to just look to be super competitive and attack all the time this year.
Julie Plant joining us, new women's basketball coach here on the St. Anselm Coaches Show. Ideally, what's the rotation size? How many players deep off the bench?
That's a good question. We're kind of still trying to figure that out. We've only been on the court together for 8 hours for the past 4 months. But ideally, depending on if we're pressing a lot or we're playing more of a half-court defensive game, it just depends. 8, 9, 10 sometimes. It's hard to play more than 10 in a rotation, game in and game out. But I'm hoping to play as many kids as I possibly can, as long as we're getting positive contributions from people.
What will the defensive looks be? Man, I mean, you mentioned the half court, the full court. Is it a combination of everything, or?
Yeah, our staple is going to be a half-court man defense with zone principles. All kinds of ball pressure all the time, all over the floor. We're going to look to keep the ball out of the middle of the paint, never allow it into the post, trap if it gets in there. We're going to put a lot of pressure and duress on other teams. We're going to mix it up, though. I think you kind of have to with the new 10-second backcourt rule that they just added for women's basketball this year. We're going to throw in a few different types of presses, maybe a few different zone presses, and we're going to have, a half-court man trap in probably too. So a few different things. We'll give a lot of different looks. But our staple will be good, hard team defense, supporting each other, pressuring the ball, always having each other's back defensively.
And is that something that you're going to look for in terms of trying to determine playing time, maybe who cuts it defensively as opposed to the other side?
Absolutely. We will have to defend every second. So the players who adjust well to our defensive plans, they're going to absolutely contribute. Yeah.
Good stuff. Talking with the new women's basketball coach, Julie Plant, trying to revive a program that has struggled over the last couple of years. I like what I'm hearing so far, by the way, as well. Defense and competitiveness, certainly good to hear. What about some of the returnees on the roster? You mentioned a lot of players who are talented players, but maybe needed a change of coaching scenery to bring out their best. What do you like, at least so far? I know it's very early in the process, but you have had a look at some of the returnees so far.
I think our senior class, it's 8 deep, which is kind of crazy. But they're very supportive kids. And they work really hard. They've been open to coaching. And I think with their leadership, we're really going to turn a corner this year. I really believe that. As long as they keep a positive attitude and they support each other, there's nothing we won't be able to do to help reach our goals this year.
What about, and we'll talk a little bit more, I guess, about the players in a moment, but I forgot to ask this earlier. What about the staff? Your coaching staff and assistants. What does that picture look like?
My full-time assistant, Amanda Shannon, I stole her. I wouldn't say stole her, but I kind of did steal her from Stonehill. I've known her for a long time. She played at Merrimack. She has the most amazing energy as a coach. She's a great mentor to our players. She was a really talented guard at Merrimack. So she brings a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of energy to our program. I know the kids have really latched on to her, and hopefully they'll continue to use her. She's a great encourager to them and a great teacher of the game. My volunteer assistant, or not my volunteer, excuse me, my part-time assistant, his name's Urban Harris. He's a local New Hampshire guy.
Where's he from?
He's from Dover. He teaches in Dover.
Okay.
And he was at NHTI last year.
Okay.
So he's been coaching AAU high school for a long time. He's an older gentleman. I actually coached his daughter at Regis for a year, so I've known him for a long time.
There you go.
Yeah. So my staff's in really good shape. They're great people and they work really hard.
The new head coach of the Saint Anselm women's basketball program, Julie Plant, joining me here on the Saint Anselm Coaches Show. A few minutes left. We'll recap the week that was, preview the week ahead, of course, as well. You know, when things don't go well, there's a lot of blame to go around, and that seems like that cloud of blame, whether it was the players or the previous coaches, kind of hung around. Tell me about the first meeting. Coming in new, meeting the obviously the staff but the new players. What was that reception like?
I thought it was great. We really preached in our first meeting that change brings opportunity, and we have a really special opportunity here before us. And to embrace the new opportunity with an open mind and an open heart. And
they were receptive to that.
They were very receptive to that. I think everyone really came in with an open mind, and they really listened and were willing to be coached by a new staff. So that's really the first step. We're still building relationships. We're still building trust now, and I think if we can continue to do that, we'll be unified, and that's really what you need when there is adversity and there is struggle.
You mentioned the 8 seniors. Of those 8, anyone make an instant impression with you as maybe this is the leader of the bunch, someone I can confide with?
I think they all kind of have made a little bit of a difference. They've all kind of opened my eyes in a different way. I think they're all really special kids, and I mean, I really appreciate the fact that they've all been willing to be coached. I think that's so very important. So I think we're still kind of trying to figure out the whole leadership piece with our big group of seniors. We do weekly, bi-weekly meetings, and we have a leadership council, and they all have great input and good insights. So I think they've all kind of touched me in a different way. In a good way.
There were a lot of freshmen on the team last year as well, and obviously the new batch of freshmen is worth considering also, but what about some of the underclassmen? Any of them made an impression so far?
It's funny, they all have as well. Our two new freshmen came in and have worked very, very, very hard. I know it was a difficult situation to be recruited by one coaching staff and then come their first year to have a brand new coaching staff, so I empathize with that. But our sophomore class as well, they've been extremely open to be coached. We have some comedians on our team. We have some serious kids on our team. We have a whole mix and a gamut of different types of personalities. But so far, so good. They've been really positive, and I couldn't be more excited for October 15th for our first official day of practice.
Julie Plant joining us. A few minutes left with the new women's basketball coach here at Saint Anselm. How would you describe your coaching style? Players coach? Are you tough? What would it be?
I think I'm kind of a mix. I've changed over the years. I used to be very, very tough, authoritative, and probably a little too authoritative at times. So I've kind of dialed it back. I think I'm more of a players coach now. I empathize. I try to be positive more than I've ever been positive in my coaching career. So we'll see how it's received here. So far, it's been received really well. But at the same time, if you're not focused and you're not giving 100% effort, I'll get on you. So there's definitely a fine balance with that.
What are you looking to accomplish this season? Short-term goals for this year?
To compete every day and get better every day. That's something we've been really preaching. Let's make sure every time we're together, our minutes and our hours together are special moments, and we need to get better every single moment that we have together. I think in every game that we play this year, we need to be competitive. I don't think there's a team in the conference that we shouldn't be able to keep fighting against every single game. So we're going to compete this year, and no matter what happens, we're going to be going, full throttle all the time.
Good stuff.
Right.
And best of luck. Thank you very much. That is Julie Plant, new head basketball coach on the women's side here on the Hilltop. And that's a program that has looked for some new blood, I think, over the last couple of years. And I think they found the right candidate based on that interview for sure. So excited to get it all going. Hard to believe it's already October. That means basketball really right around the corner. We thank Julie for joining us. Andrea Cofrin, good conversation with her as well, talking women's lacrosse. Mike Sirois, the head athletic trainer in the first half hour, getting a peek at the medical side of things, which is not an every week occurrence here on the show. And, well, a guy that is a weekly occurrence, Pat Murphy, we thank him for joining us as well to talk a little football. Nick Anastos here with you on the Saint Anselm Coaches Show, recorded live at Davison Hall every Tuesday from noon to 1, and heard back on ESPN New Hampshire and online at espnnewhampshire.com Tuesday nights from 5:30 to 6. All right, time for my favorite segment, certainly Eric Copeland's favorite segment as well. It's the Week in Review, and we'll start with field hockey, where the Hawks went 0-2. Blanked 2-0 at home by Assumption on Wednesday, then dropped a 3-2 overtime game at Southern Connecticut. That was Saturday afternoon. Hawks trailed 2-0 with under 4 minutes to go in regulation. Senior Elizabeth Sears spotted a pair of goals with 39 seconds left to force overtime. Sophomore Taylor Coons assisted on Sears' game-tying tally. Southern Connecticut, though, scored the winner. A few minutes into the extra session, sophomore goalkeeper Shauna Whittemore made 9 saves in the game after stopping 10 shots earlier in the week against Assumption. St. A's drops to 1-2 and 3-2 in overtime games this season. Men's soccer, they dropped a pair of games also last week at Southern New Hampshire 5-1 on Wednesday and against New Haven 6-3 on Saturday. In the Saturday loss, freshman Zachary Hecht had a hand at all three of the Hawks' goals, including 2 to bring St. A's within 1 at 3-2. Women's soccer, they went 1-0 on the week, and they only played once, so pretty good. Taking down Pace, 1-0. Sophomore Taylor Levy lifted the Hawks to victory with her goal in the 57th minute. Junior Gabriela Primera made 5 saves, and freshman Cassie Quattropani made 2 to earn the shutout. Volleyball, they went 0-1 on the week, dropped their only game against Stonehill. That was a 3-0 final. Freshman Brenna Gladwell was credited with 13 kills, while junior Natalie Steinwerk dished out 27 assists. Senior Kyla Gustafson from Nashua, New Hampshire, also helped out defensively with 6 kills, while junior Melissa Jewett led the team with 11. Cross country. Both St. Anselm cross-country teams competed at the Purple Valley Classic on Saturday afternoon at Mount Greylock High School. The women finished second out of 9 teams behind the second-place finish of senior Stephanie Kearsley, who completed the 5K in a time of 21 minutes, 7 seconds. The men were 11th of 13 and were once again paced by sophomore Kevin Morse in a time of 28-21. In golf, Joe Fitzsimmons, who was on the show last week, carded a 155 to lead the St. Anselm College golf team to a 7th-place finish at the Northeast 10 Championships on Sunday and Monday. That was at Brentwood Golf Club in Keene. The Hawks, who shot a .633 as a team, placed 7th out of the 10 and were 37 strokes off the pace. The winner was a Delphi, by the way. Tim Grossman placed second for the Hawks with a cumulative total of 157, which landed him at a tie for 22nd overall. Billy Curley carded a pair of 80s for a 30th finish, and amongst all golfers, Timothy Radigan placed 4th for the Hawks, 31st overall, with his 2-day total of 161, shooting an 83 on the first day, 78 on the second. In tennis, the men suffered a 9-0 loss at Southern New Hampshire on Wednesday afternoon, while both the men and the women were swept at home by Bentley on Saturday. A look ahead coming up this week, a lot of action everywhere, and I guess we begin today with Tuesday's show, and moving forward, they'll have a road trip with the field hockey team against St. Michael's. That's a 4 o'clock game today. That's at Grapponi Stadium. That's actually a home game at Grapponi Stadium, 4 o'clock today. Field hockey versus St. Michael's. The volleyball team is at the road, or on the road. That's at Southern New Hampshire. Rematch between those two teams from a few weeks ago at the Southern New Hampshire University Fieldhouse. 7 o'clock is when the game begins. Tomorrow, women's soccer versus St. Michael's. That's at Malucci Field at 4 o'clock. And then a whole bunch of games going on Saturday. Men's soccer versus Adelphi at noon at Malucci. Field hockey against AIC. That's 1 o'clock at Grapponi. And by the way, come out and support the field hockey team as it hosts its 3rd annual Corners for the Cure initiative to benefit the Susan G. Komen for the Cure Foundation. T-shirts will be on sale at the game for only $10, with all proceeds going to the New Hampshire, Vermont chapter of Susan G. Komen for the Cure. Again, that's field hockey versus AIC, 1 o'clock on Saturday. Women's soccer also in action. They'll take on Southern Connecticut at 3 o'clock. That's at Malucci Field. And then volleyball against AIC at 5 o'clock in Stoutenburg. Sunday, October 6th, the men's lacrosse team in the 2nd annual St. Anselm College Purple Ribbon Lacrosse Challenge. That's also at Grapponi. Come down to Grapponi for a fun-filled day of lacrosse. It begins at 8 a.m. The Purple Ribbon Lacrosse Challenge will feature teams from Divisions 1, 2, and 3, and will raise money for cancer research and the Michelle Carteret Fund for malignant thymoma research. Carteret was a 1991 graduate of St. Anselm. She was diagnosed with malignant thymoma almost 14 years ago. On August 28, 2013, Carteret unfortunately lost her battle, and therefore this year's challenge will be a celebration of Michelle's life and extra special to the St. Anselm lacrosse community. So come down for an all-day event beginning at 8 a.m. on Sunday. Each team will play two 50-minute games. Running clock, two 25-minute halves. Schedule begins as follows. St. A's bright and early at 8 a.m. versus Curry. AIC versus Clark at 9. St. Anselm versus Yukon at 10. There's a good game. Franklin Pierce versus Clark at 11. AIC and Curry at 12. And then Franklin Pierce and Yukon finish it off at 1. Admission to the event, only $5 for kids. $5 for adult, $3 for kids, with all proceeds going directly to the cause. Raffle tickets will also be available with prizes, including a one-night weekend stay at the Liberty Hotel in Boston and 2 tickets to the Boston Celtics. So please view the tournament flyer located on the St. Anselm website for additional raffles and information. And, of course, to learn more about the Michelle Carteret Fund for Malignant Thymoma Research, please visit their website at thymomahope.org. That's THYMOMAHOPE.org. Well, that just about does it. Another successful week in the books. We want to thank Pat Murphy, the head football coach, for joining us in the first half hour. They will take on Bentley on Saturday, trying to get their first win. Thanks to Mike Sirois, the head athletic trainer, for joining us as well. Andrea Cofrin, introducing herself to the community, the new women's lacrosse coach on campus, and Julie Plant, who takes over the women's basketball program. We thank her for joining us as well. The normal thank yous: Tyler Fleming, Eric Copeland, Mackenzie Frazier of the Saint Anselm Athletic Department, and of course our engineer back at the ESPN New Hampshire studios, Tom Rowe. My name is Nick Anastos, saying so long. We'll see you next Tuesday on the Saint Anselm Coaches Show, right here on ESPN New Hampshire and ESPNNewHampshire.com.